alone, Gold Rush Expeditions has sold over 80 mining properties across the United States and claimed even more. From California to Montana, take a look at some of our greatest sites of 2017. The Illinois Mine is one of the largest and most valuable sites in Nevada, with documented gold and silver ore reserves of over 50,000 tons, with a value of over $38 million. Despite the success of the mine, the Illinois has a bit of grim history. The mine was discovered in 1875 by Alfred Welsh, who at the time was very poor and could only afford to complete the bare minimum assessments on the mine. After selling the mine and buying it back, by 1889, the Illinois was producing hundreds of thousands of dollars of ore. At this time, Welsh decided to pay off his family's mortgages, excluding one brother who had no mortgage. This brother insisted that Welsh pay him an equal amount as the rest of his family. But instead, Welsh brought his brother back to the mine. One day in 1891, Welsh's brother shot Welsh and fled the scene, and the Illinois mine was forced to close. The Illinois was reopened later and worked on and off since then. Today, the mines on the Illinois property are in surprisingly good condition. Most of the workings are interconnected, and the drifts and shafts in the main workings are timbered. The Illinois mine workings are cut into stable and competent rock. There is mapping from 1930 and 1973 available with geological estimations. The drifts have been run with water and air lines, probably circa 1970. Additionally, there has been electrical lines run into the top two levels with lighting and new wood supports. Surveyors estimate that there are over 10,000 feet of workings on at least 5 levels. The Illinois mine should be viewed as a commercial operation. A plan of operations and bonds would be required to bring this mine to active status again. But with $38 million in reserves, it would be well worth it to get the Illinois mine up and running again.
This is rad. It's brisk for sure. I'm not going to deny that. So there's gold and there's pyrites that I'm picking up all here. The MRDS, which we consistently throw under the bus because it's wrong, says, it's the Foster zinc mine. It's a zinc mine. Nobody has been mining zinc for a long, long, long time. Everything that's out here shows gold. You got dark iron, you got all the pyrites, very good for gold, and then you have gold as soon as we get out here. So positive reclamation. This is the kind I like. Why? Because it has a gate right there, and we can get into it. No worries, no fuss, no muss. The head frame is kind of cool, and there's a couple of different things to notice about it. Your construction is older construction, but then somebody came through later and it was beefy enough that they put this big metal chute in. This is a super bitchin' shaft, but it may need a little bit of rehab. It looks like at some point there's been a little bit of fire on this side, but I mean the manway looks like it's completely intact. The shaft looks open and clean. There's not a bunch of muck or shit in it. You got air and water pipes running right here. This is probably a good 100 or so foot shaft, and then it probably is going to break into some drift levels, but interesting. Something to get into for sure.
Foster Mine is a turn-of-the-century mine that was rehabbed in the early 1980s. Outfitted with a metal ore chute, the original headframe is still in place. The shaft appears to be in excellent condition. There is a large reclamation gating system over the shaft and incorporated into the headframe.
It's a nice reclamation because they've kept, one, the headframe intact, which says a lot, and two, there's a gate that needs a key. And the really nice thing about those metal frames over the shafts is it actually gives you a really good, secure tie-off point when you're rappelling up and down a shaft like that.
It would be necessary to get a plan of operation approved to receive a key from the Forest Service or Bureau of Land Management for legal access into the underground workings. Surveyors assess that this would be a rich mine that would produce good gold values as evidenced by the ores found on the surface. The return of gold is very high in the area, and ores often average 800 to 1,000 ounces of gold per ton in pockets and lenses. There are documented reports of gold recovery at 2,000 ounces to the ton. At today's gold prices, a pocket like that would gross $2.4 million per ton, an incredible number that would make a millionaire with very little work. The Sylvania mining property, located in a remote area near the Nevada-California border, covers the Old Bullion, Four Aces, and Sylvania mines. There are a total of 80 acres, which encompass all of the workings pertinent to mining activity. The claims also cover all old mining buildings, workshops, and miners' quarters.
What I've got behind me is a massive, cool old trommel. What do you use a trommel for? For gold. You spin it around and get your gold coming out. What's interesting is the mines we're at are lode mines, and there's no crusher out here, but we've got a whole bunch of buildings, a whole bunch of infrastructure. But the equipment right down here is all placer related. So we have over here a big, massive shaker table, and it's a, 3-level shakers on a big trailer. We've got trucks over here, we've got water tanks.
Oh, it is a bug. I can tell by the front here. A Volkswagen Bug, if you don't know what I'm talking about, or a Volkswagen Beetle. Little buggy eyes. So now it's a squished Volkswagen Bug. Bet it was cute one time.
The road up to the old mine goes right up to an old smokestack, a chimney of sorts up there. But the mine farther up has been blasted, so if you want to get into it, you're going to need a notice of operations, and it's probably well worth your time to open that up. The mine extension has some head frames. It has a bunch of other mine workings up there, so they probably all came down together here, and this is where everything was being worked.
The mine camp on the property has often been referred to as the ghost town of Sylvania. But there was never any ghost town of Sylvania. Only the mine camp, which was so expansive it had often been mistaken for an entire town. The primary output of the mine is reported as silver and lead, with minimal gold according to documentation. But our surveyors disputed this reporting, based on a massive gold shaker and a trommel located on the claim. These were not used for silver or lead separation, only for gold.
So we've just entered the Sylvania extension adit, and right off the bat, I'm seeing some really nice galena in the side of the walls here.
There's a piece of it here that comes, you can see some light little flecks of gold in there. And then here is like a big glob of it, and it shoots down this way and then continues. See? And then they've broken it all off right there. So that would probably be what they were getting the gold out of, whatever they were chasing there. So.
The Arastra mine is a small set of workings on some likely very good gold deposits. This was a small-scale mining operation thought to have started in the late 1800s. It was likely worked on and off until it was shut down in 1941 by the War Act. Sometime in the early 1960s, a miner by the name of George took the claim over and started working it.
This is something that's interesting. You guys often read stories about, oh, Joe Prospector, we never know where he went, but he lived out in the desert for 50 years and always came into town with gold to pay for stuff. That's this guy right here. Obviously, he's built up all sorts of stuff. If you don't have any money and you don't have any food, you're not out here working. So this guy is obviously getting food. He's obviously bringing in his own water. He's got a trailer. He's built houses. He's got a shitload of books here. I mean, this guy was not hating it. He's built himself teepees. He's built himself wells. I mean, this guy was getting money from somewhere, and I guarantee he probably wasn't just pulling it out of his ass. He's probably getting it right out of the stream where you can see there's little pockets here. He's built up the wall. This is the kind of stuff that those little lost treasure stories are made out of.
George stayed until he passed away in 1987 or 1989. The claim has a series of old buildings on it. The basic brick structure has been added on with awnings, an old camper, and various walls and doors. There is also an old workshop that is filled with old magazines and reading material, and many old implements that may have been used for mining. In addition, there is an early 1980s small pickup truck. The yard is filled with artistic expression, and there are various sculptures all around the buildings. Some of the buildings even bear large murals.
The guy did a lot of stuff out here. I mean, this was like a whole, it's almost like a garden, like of a bunch of old stuff. There's a coffee cup, just random parts and hooks and locks and wheels. A little well, which I'm not sure if it was an actual well or not, but I'm gonna find out.
The claims are set in a large wash where gold has been found from small nuggets to a monster 68-ounce nugget that came out near the highway in 1977.
So there's our quartz, and on it you've got your mica, which you can see here. But look as you get up here. Oh, what is all that? Is that pyrites and gold? Running right along, and look at those little dark bits. It's almost like that's where the black sands kind of were forming. Oh, maybe that's why gold forms in the black sands. Crazy. There's a legitimate piece of ore for you that I just found in the wall.
There is a shaft that is mostly ant-hilled and would need significant work to be usable. The shaft cannot be too deep due to the location so close to the old wash. But the wash is where the majority of the mining work seems to have occurred.
Well, the truth is, you could actually start coming to work this under casual use by just panning the black sands in the wash. And one thing that's really fun and exciting about black sands like this, you know when we have really big runoff years, like this year we've gotten a lot of water, there's been flooding. All that flooding is going to bring new gold each year, and it's going to deposit it into these washes and get it stuck behind these boulders. That's one of the benefits of placer mining is, every year it can change. Every year, this is a wash. Water is going to run through here. New gold is going to come down from where it was originally found and be deposited. So every year it's like having a new claim out here.
The Arastra is a one-of-a-kind site filled with unique history and great potential for gold production. The Mary Clow mine was originally part of the Charleston Hill National Mines Group, which consisted of 11 unpatented claims in the area. The company, formed in 1916, was owned by Mary L. Clow, for which the Mary Clow received its name. There are many structures on the claim, including more than 5 collapsed buildings, including an ore bin, tipple, sorting facility, and cabins. as well as many relics scattered across the claim. The Mary Clow was worked primarily for gold and lots of it.
I'm in the Mary Clow mine. This is the main workings, the one that made me go, what? Jaw dropping the very first time I came in. My jaw dropped because you have one of the most incredible quartz with gold veins I've ever seen. So it's actually right here above my head. And if you look right here, you can see the gold that they were working right in this quartz. Now this particular vein is about 2 feet deep, 2 feet wide right here. It goes all the way back, and it's on the other side here. So basically that probably continued on this whole plane, and when the miners were working it, that's why they cut this drift, is because they were following this vein. They got all of it out of the middle, and that's what they were looking for. It's pretty incredible.
Historical documents indicate the main adit being 1,200 feet long, with plenty of gold still to be found.